Okay. Let's see. I would like to do these. Okay. We are live and we're just checking all the other destinations. Perfect. I'm so excited to be with you today, Pedro. Okay, we are adding our last destinations now. And here we go. Okay, we're officially live. Thank you, Pedro, for joining me. For those of you out there, this is Catholic Owned Live. This is the show where we talk about all things faith, business, and economics so that we can live out the faith that we profess in our economic lives. I am your host, Brooke Joyner, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Catholic Owned. This show, the Wednesday show, is my favorite show because I get to be joined by incredible guests who have something to say, some experience that they are eager to share around building the new Catholic economy. And today's guest is no different. Pedro Cadena is the co-founder of Servorum. And Servorum is the global recruiting service for Catholic business owners. This is such an important topic. So I'm honored to have Pedro with us. Thank you, Pedro, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, and it's great to be here.
Wonderful. So I think that staffing and recruiting is one of the areas that I would say is kind of sticky, so to speak. It's a little bit tricky to hire because of laws that are in place in the United States and I'm sure elsewhere. But I really am such a firm believer that it is an area where we can impact the Catholic economy significantly. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you on this topic.
Yeah, well, you are absolutely right. It's a very sticky area, and I think it's very sticky because the stakes are so high. We're talking not about resources. We're not talking about material things. We're talking about people whose lives will be impacted, whose families will be impacted, whose closest circle, and then also wider circles will be impacted by the job. We're talking about people in the companies who will be affected by any hire. So it's definitely sticky territory, and we're honored to be able to step on that holy ground, and we try to do our best work to correspond to that mission that we have.
Absolutely. So can you share with us a little bit, staffing, recruiting, that's a pretty broad topic. Can you share with the audience what exactly Servorum does and who you help and where you help them? Because that's a big topic too.
Sure. So first, what we do, we find candidates, people aligned with Catholic values and who are also excellent professionals, adequate for the job openings that Catholic business owners have. How we do it? Well, two of us co-founders were seminarians with the Legionaries of Christ. So we got to travel around the world for quite some years. In my case, for 6 years. I was in Germany and then in the US and then in Italy, always studying with the seminary. And I was in a very international community. So, for example, in Italy, I was together with people from maybe 20, 25 different countries. And once I left the seminary, I had these amazing connections with very faithful, committed Catholics from all around the world. And eventually, I saw this as an opportunity to help people all around the world be connected to each other in different ways. And one of those ways is through those of us who are business owners to hire those of us who are looking for jobs. And we use the pools that we know. For example, if I have a business owner in Brazil who needs a candidate, well, I know a couple of very committed Brazilians who are Catholics, very committed, very faithful, who I know take their faith seriously, and their circle is similar to them. And then from that circle, we try to find the candidates, or we get referrals also from them, and that's how we curate the candidates. And where we do that, well, wherever in the world we are asked. We have been requested so far in the US, in Mexico, where we started the company, in Chile, in Argentina, in Spain, and in Brazil, and in Colombia so far.
Okay, so that's a pretty big footprint. Can you share with us a little bit? Because I know that some jobs, some roles require to be in person. Others are particularly well suited for remote positions, remote employees, and obviously there are the economics that can vary with that. Can you speak a little bit to hiring internationally, if that's something that's a good fit for some businesses here in the US?
Well, sure. For the US, we do both in person and remote hiring. For the in person hiring, we rely on our network and also on parishes. We have this parish program that we do, which is with permission of the parish priest, we post, well, not we, but somebody at the parish, our contact there, posts a poster in the bulletin board with two QR codes. One says, do you want to hire values aligned people for your Catholic business? And the other says, do you want to find a job at a Catholic company? So you scan those, that takes you to a form, you fill it out, and then somebody from our team reaches out to you and does a short vetting process with you. Um, and after that, you're either admitted as a business owner, as a client, or as a candidate. And then we try our best to match between candidates and business owners. And for remote, well, let's say, for example, making 300K in revenue a year. That is, they are already making some serious money to pay for their own expenses. They cannot hire a full-time professional because that would take, for example, half of their annual revenue. So they hire remote candidates, let's say, for example, from Latin America or from the Philippines or from some other country around the world, which is also a win-win situation because in the economies where dollars have a lot of weight, the candidates benefit a lot from the exchange rate, and also the businesses in the US benefit a lot from having values aligned candidates who also speak English and are very competent.
It's so helpful to know that there's a place people can go to find these candidates. Can you share a little bit in the US? You know, one of the things that at Catholic Owned, we're always advocating to buy Catholic first, hire Catholic first. If you need anything, whether it be a service or a product, think Catholic first. And you know, I get a lot of in the DMs. Well, are you sure about hiring Catholic? Can you even legally say that?
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie.
It's so can you speak to some of those legal things, because obviously it's an incredibly it must be handled with care, we could say.
It's an incredibly delicate terrain to walk on, definitely, because saying I'll only hire Catholics in most cases will be seen as discrimination by religion, and that's illegal. That's a crime in most countries, and it's also against Catholic teaching. So the only instance where it makes sense to only hire Catholics is where the DNA of the company is so, let's say, the same thing. Like, let's say a company that is owned by a Catholic and run or directed through Catholic principles, and all of the Catholic feast days are respected, and the mission of the company is to establish the kingdom of Christ on earth, then if the Catholic faith is inherently a part of the DNA of the enterprise, then it makes sense to only hire Catholics. Let's say, for example, an accountant for Catholic charities. They need somebody who gets the mission and who lives the mission and who wants to be a part of it, also from the spiritual side, or a religion teacher at a school. So those instances are okay. But if it's let's say called a cold sales agent uh, who will join a Catholic company, he doesn't necessarily need to be a Catholic, but he needs to be aligned with the Catholic culture of the company. That means he will try to do things with honesty, living in the truth, speaking the truth, uh, strive for excellence in the service. So basically, living all the social Catholic teaching. So in some cases, it's necessary for a Catholic to work on a certain position, and in other cases, it's only necessary for people, candidates, to be aligned with those principles. And that alignment can come from anybody of good faith from any religion. So that's how we handle that.
And it makes a lot of sense. I think, there's also reason from the perspective of the candidates, for them to ensure a culture fit when applying for roles. If somebody is ardently against the core tenets of the Catholic faith and they walk in and they're hired at a company that is, as you said, the feast days are observed. There's prayer that happens. There's a crucifix on the wall. It's a truly Catholic culture. I imagine that candidate will be very uncomfortable a lot of the time if it's something that they're, against, right?
Yeah, and also the opposite happens, which is some of our candidates, they were having success in a normal, let's say a secular job, but they were so uncomfortable because they were asked to steal or to cheat or to deceive or to promote activities or different, let's say, um, promote different ideologies which are diametrically opposed to their faith. So they were looking for the first opportunity to leave, and then they found us, and they were so happy that they could be part of a company that actually promoted what they believed in. So that helped them get a more unified life, because you can't be a devout Catholic in your home and at church, but not at work. So you need to have a unified life to have peace of mind and also to be coherent with what you believe.
Absolutely. And, we receive emails from people almost weekly that, they have a secular job, a regular job, as we would say, and it's reasonably well paying, which in today's market is great. Obviously job hunting is a huge challenge today, but they are in a role that, even if they're not being asked to, steal or be dishonest, they just feel like either they're being asked to promote those ideologies or the work is kind of meaningless. And it's almost just that nothingness. And I think that, and so they email us, they're looking for roles with Catholic companies for that reason. Can you speak a little to the importance of having meaning in our work and what that can do for the human person?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd first like to say that every work which is honest is meaningful and is can be sanctified through the virtuous exercise of your functions. So if you're let's say you work at the mail office and all you do is stamp envelopes, that can feel meaningless, but it can be sanctified. Then we have also the other element of which I spoke earlier, which is we are talking about holy ground, which is people's lives and people who have infinite value created in the image and likeness of God. So not every job is for everyone, and some people are very happy with a very routinary let's say a job that feels mechanical in a certain way. And some people need to be around other people, need to be connecting with others. Some people need something new every day, to be fixing different issues every day. And some people are very thrown off by something that interrupts their routine. So we try to understand how each candidate would flourish the most, and then place them only in the positions and in the companies in which they would flourish the most, because we are made, uh, I think it was Saint Irenaeus who said the glory of God is man fully alive. And if you are made for teaching and you are stamping envelopes at the post office, you are not fully alive. So we would strive to help you find a job that makes you feel fully alive and that pays you well. So that means we place less candidates usually than any other recruiting firm, because we are very selective. But the ones we place are almost a perfect match, and both the business owner and the candidate are super happy about it, and they are set up for a very lasting career there because they like the job. They would do it even if they were not paid, but they are paid and handsomely. So that's what we strive for.
It's beautiful. And that's so true, really. And I think it's important for people to hear that maybe the current role is not ideal, but it can be sanctified and it can be for a season, okay, right? Even if it's not
Right.
being fully alive. But I think we all go through those seasons of, this is okay for 2 years and then we move on, and that's all right.
Exactly.
But I guess I wanted to ask you two more questions. I'm going to put you on the spot a little, Pedro, if that's okay.
Sure.
We know we know that it's a pretty tough job market right now. And we see, at least I see, a lot of content or a lot of comments around that for applicants, it's really tough to get a good role that
Yeah.
fits their skills. And on the other end of the marketplace, employers share and commiserate that it's really hard to find good talent. So I was hoping we could get your advice first to the applicants, but also to the business owners for how to navigate this difficult space.
Well, sure. Actually, we started the Servorum um, because our friends who were business owners were complaining to us exactly with the mostly or almost identical words. We can't find talent that is aligned with our values, and on the other hand, we had friends who were looking for jobs and were like, "I can't find a good job for me." So we introduced them to each other, and then Servorum was born. Well, then eventually somebody said, "Hey, you guys should charge for this," and then it became a business instead of just something we did out of the goodness of our hearts. I mean, we still do it out of the goodness of our hearts, but now we also get paid for it, which is amazing. And so, um, from what I know from the industry, almost up to 70% of the openings are filled through somebody who got a recommendation from somebody within the company. So it basically comes down to who you know. So for the candidates, I'd recommend hang out where the business owners who you admire and want to work for are, if that's possible. Let's say you want to work for a company and that the business owner or the regional manager is Catholic. Well, maybe go to the same parish and introduce yourself to them. So you have to actively, rather than polish your resume, which should always be polished, you should try to find ways of connecting with people who share your values, who will automatically, when once they get to know you, see how valuable candidate you would be, and will tend to want to hire you because they are always on the hunt, and they know that qualified personnel with deep values is very hard to find, and they pay good money to find somebody like you. So if you just come to them, you're making their job easier, you're sparing them money, you're taking my business away too, but you can do it, that's no problem. I will have more clients. and and also for the business owners, do the opposite. If you want good candidates, let's say for example, um, you can also do without our parish program. You just can go to maybe a certain parish that you know has certain demographics, younger families with both parents working and all of them college educated. Go hang out at those parishes, greet people after mass, put on a poster in the parish like, uh, I want people from this parish to work at my company, and I have this opening for accounting and this other one for sales. And you will see that people, excellent people, will come to you. We are not necessary. Middlemen are never necessary, but we make things easier. But you can also do the things by yourself.
That's really such sage and sound advice, because I think so often we get a little bit stuck in thinking that online platforms are the way, right? You know, these job websites and things, um, which are of course helpful, right? Having
Yeah,
someone facilitating in the middle. But sometimes, as someone seeking a role, perhaps that is a better use of time, is that relationship building.
yeah, and if you want to know or to work at a certain industry, then go hang out at the expo for that industry and greet people and introduce yourself. And um, usually, managers have a very good eye to identifying talent and values. So just be out there and be proactively showcasing how amazing you are, because most of our candidates are truly amazing people. I'd hire them all if I had the money to do so, uh, and openings for them. So yeah.
Yeah, I get the same feeling when people are writing into us, is like, I wish we could hire you all. But the beautiful thing is that as the Catholic economy is being built out, you know, the more that we are supporting these companies owned by Catholics, the more they are in a position to hire, right? So it's such
Yes,
an
it's
important
a circle.
piece.
Definitely a circle. You buy so they grow, so they can hire more people, or they need to hire more people. So yeah, it's definitely a virtuous cycle that we want to promote, and that we're so happy that we're seeing a huge wave of interest in intentionally building a Catholic economy. So we're thankful for what you do and for what all the others are also doing in this regard.
Absolutely. Is there anything else we want to make sure and share about Servorum before we wrap up?
Um, what should I say? Well, I should also mention that we are flawed humans and we make mistakes. So be patient with us if we ever make you angry. It's not it's not intentionally, and we'll try to make it up to you. But I think it's very important that we, as Catholics, strive for excellence and at the same time are forgiving to each other. It's a balance. You know, we cannot demand that everyone be perfect all the time, but at the same time we should strive for excellence and strive to perfect our systems so that we can also not only get sympathy business but also provide the best possible service. I think that's a very important thing that sometimes among Catholics we can say, oh, we're Catholics, we just make business with each other, but maybe it's not the best quality, and that's a mistake. That's running short on. And let's say God calls you to the highest level possible, so we should strive for that. And while we go up in that path, we should be patient and forgiving with each other, and also help each other be better. So yeah, it's like a family, I guess. God's family, just trying to not tolerating vice, but also not being so square that if anybody makes a mistake, you are cast out. Let's say.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that humanity of business really is something that I talked about, I think on Monday on the live stream, that, technology has dehumanized commerce so far, that, there's no humanity, there's no charity with one another, there's no virtue, there's no opportunity for virtue, because I think I want it, I order it, it shows up. But there's
Yeah.
no space for humanity, or like, oh, I actually need to try to be a little patient for 3 days. And that's okay. But our, hustle and bustle racing, rat race culture doesn't have any space for that.
Yeah,
But
it's okay once.
small
If it
things.
happens twice or 3 times, then something's wrong and you need to fix it. But if it happens once, then I think patience is a good virtue to practice every once in a while.
Exactly, exactly. Well, and I love that you touched on the excellence piece. That's honestly a whole other topic. But as Catholics, pursuing excellence is absolutely something we should be doing. So I love that you touched on that as well.
Yeah, it's part of the call.
Amen. Amen. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful, Pedro. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and it was great talking to you.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today on Catholic Owned Live. Before we go, I do want to highlight our upcoming event, the Catholic Economy Forum. This will be held live on April 16th from 12 to 3 o'clock Central Time. This is going to be an opportunity for our whole community to get together, Catholic business owners, Catholic professionals, and every other Catholic who's involved in the Catholic economy, to get together and talk about these issues. There will also be super interactive networking opportunities because we're hosting it on this platform that's as close to in person as possible. But it's from the comfort of home, all virtual, so you don't have to travel or anything like that. I will check out all of our socials. There's the link to buy your tickets. It is a ticketed event, and you can use code Catholic Owned at checkout to save 25% on your ticket. But we would love to have you there. So check our socials, grab the link, and grab your tickets before the 16th. Thank you all so much for joining us. This has been Catholic Owned Live, the Wednesday show with my host, Pedro Cadena, the co-founder of Servorum. Thank you for joining us. God bless you, and we'll see you on Friday.